him. That's okay. I read.
Oh, I'm telling Ronnie. I'm telling. Oh, I'm telling. I'm telling. Good to see you.
No, he's at the gym.
Kelly and Ronnie are the most efficient people I know, so I get to tease them on this one. Okay. So, we left off with that. I want to look at this because I wanted to put this on the screen, but I want to kind of bring out everybody. Did everybody get that outline that I gave you of all of the different gifts? You got that? And I hope you were able to look at that a little bit. But I want us to talk before we go into passion. I want to talk a little bit, and I want to kind of give you some outlining so you can see maybe how this pertains in your gift realm, and see how where it kind of gives you some direction. Because I know that although you know right now, you still want some direction. Okay? Now, because all of us are not like Paul. Now remember, you don't need to be searching the next 20 years finding out where does God want me to be. Okay? Because one of the things that, everybody remember the 9th chapter of Acts? One day Paul gets saved. Y'all remember Paul? Remember he got blinded, knocked off of his horse, and he got up, and it says, and God had this men leading, and he asked, he said, Lord, what would you have me to do? Now Paul did not accept Christ until that moment. He said, Lord, what would you have me to do? And he said, and God spoke to him and said, Paul, I want you to go, and you're going to go to a street called Straight, and somebody's going to tell you some of the things that you're supposed to do. So we see that it didn't take a long time period. Some of us, we think so much that it takes us a long time period getting the word. And we have to recognize that when your heart is pure after God, God allows us to make mistakes. I want to make sure y'all get that. You're allowed to make mistakes on the road, on the journey, because when your heart's seeking after God, sometimes God knows the difference between you being irreverent and making mistakes as you're trying to find His will. When you work with any children, there's a difference between when you're being just, some of us being, I'm just going to do what I want to do. Now, that's a belligerent walk. But when you make mistakes, hey, I'm trying to find God's will. Oops, this is not it. And I'm trying to. God's gentle in that way because He knows that we're growing. I'll give you a great example. When I first started playing baseball, when I was a little kid, they didn't have t-ball league, but we had baseball. So we went to play baseball. And I go out for the team, and I already know where I'm supposed to play because I'm Roberto Clemente. I'm going to play right field. And so when I get to the 10 hit there, the coach grabs us and instead of putting us on right field, he said, hey, we want to practice grounders, we're going to practice hitting the ground balls and swinging. I don't need to do all that because I know who I am. I'm going to play right field. I'm Roberto Clemente. So what he did, you go through practice, and so we hit grounders, and he takes us through a couple weeks of just hitting grounders and catching the ball. Then he takes us through hitting, and then he starts putting us in places. And I thought, I don't need you to put me anyplace else. Because I'm Roberto Clemente. I'm going to play right field. Long story short, as we're playing, he puts me out right field. Right field works all right for me, but then he puts me at second base. Second base, and I play second base and right field. But you learn on the way. So I went out there in right field. That felt good for me, but that wasn't right where I was. I needed to be someplace a little differently. But I was allowed to make mistakes and to find out where I fit. And that's what we're trying to do. We're going to find out where we fit. And sometimes you're going to make a little mistake or deviation, but don't be afraid. Let that keep you going to where you're going to fit in and how you're going to make where you sit in a piece of the puzzle. Okay? So is that all right?
Yeah.
So let's look at some of the things. Now, who in here, some of your gifts? Anybody find out they had the gift of administration? Gift of administration. Okay, I want to look at a couple of things. I want to give you a site that you can go to. Write this down. You can go to, of course you know to put HTTPS, // Put in minitools.com.
Mini?
M-I-N-I. Mini. Like small, mini, not very mini, but small, mini.
Okay.
Mini. Minitools.com /ministries. Christian education, you've got staffing, you've got staff support, you've got ministry development, you've got event planning, you've got all kind of things like that. And you can begin to look at the things that maybe within the church or maybe outside of the church where your gift lines up. And start seeing those things. Now remember, one of the things we might find out too is that sometimes the church has to develop new ministries for people to fit in that wherever they are as well. So that's important. So maybe you opened up and you said, I'm just going to look at Kelly's for her. Say maybe Christian education. Now Christian education, so that means teaching ministry. That might incorporate nursery. That might include adult ministry, senior ministry. That might include staff development. That might include family needs, special needs. That might do things such as financial recording, clerical development, nuts and bolts, menus, manual development, communication, all kind of things. So it embraces a lot of areas so you can see, hey, I don't just fit in one little, put that square peg in that round hole. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Okay. For instance, myself, I was in administration for a long time, and organizing events, etc. But now when I take the gifts test, administration is maybe like 4th or 5th down on my list.
Okay. Did you enjoy it? Or did you do it?
I did both.
Okay. Well, if it's one of your line gifts, but if it's not your first line gift, then you still need to serve in your first line gift. But if it's one of your gifting places, things interlap. But I always ask, did you enjoy it? Because one of the ways that you can find out really where you're at, not that you're only always, I didn't say were you happy all the time and did everything go smoothly. Because sometimes, in the midst, I was telling somebody the other day, they were saying, I have all these things going on in my life, and I said, yeah, but when I can do my pastoring thing, when I can just do the ministry thing, I was talking to Cass, that was Cass, because I was like, I had to go to last week it was Ronnie in the hospital, this week is my wife, my mother-in-law was in the hospital, just kidding, my daughter, and all of these things coming right down, all that but as long as, when I can do my ministry, everything's good. I mean, it's just like, okay, all of that is just a brief. It doesn't mean everything's going easy. I mean, I got people coming to the office, got all kind of counseling situations, but when I can do ministry, because that's where I belong, and that fits. So,
Well, when I would get the task completed, I was happy. I was happy with the results, and happy that everybody else was happy with the results.
Right. So what is the main line gift you have now?
Pardon? Well, the main one I had was teaching, and then tied was faith and giving, and then the 4th one came in as leadership.
Okay.
So
sometimes we're serving in places where we're serving well, and maybe we're being the brick for somebody else that's being to step into that spot. So I think it's important though to serve where you feel like you are best fit, and maybe at that time in ministry. That's why I always tell people too, be willing to train somebody to step back, because sometimes you're fulfilling a role to hold the wall up, and maybe that's not but you're fulfilling a role to hold the wall up so that somebody else can get in that piece and you can get out that piece of the wall. Eric.
Do you agree that we go through different seasons in our lives where this gift may fit us now, but maybe another gift fits us later on in life?
I agree wholeheartedly. If you check out a person, the evangelist Philip. Philip at one time was a deacon. Mm-hmm. And then he matriculated in ministry to being an evangelist. And then he matriculated in ministry to an evangelistic leader, and his daughters were evangelists. So we do matriculate in our growth and our development of ministry and in our development of our gifts. Okay? But also within the whole shape, and that is the heart and the ability and the personality and the experience.
Right.
All of that blended together. Okay? Because I don't believe I'm going, I know I'm not where I was, because one thing I love prison and youth ministry. And I ended up pastoring a bunch of prisoners and youth. No, I'm just kidding. Let's mess with y'all, okay? So, but that gives you a little bit, Kelly. But if you go to that site, anybody else got some of their?
I just want to share this. I think sometimes, we are ministering maybe outside of our lanes, because a lot of times you see various needs in the church, let us say as an example, and no one is pretty much stepping up. So you find yourself sort of stepping into that to try and either, to ensure that it's going on, or
Because it's a need.
yes, because it is a need. It's not your gift, and hopefully you get it started and you can, somebody else will come along. But then you sort of find that you didn't sort of water your gift down because of the time and effort that you put into fulfilling another need.
Right.
Yeah.
Because some of us are doers. Any doers?
Yeah.
I don't know, wherever I go. Yeah, but I was visiting my daughter's church. They thought I was a greeter. Okay? Because I was in church and I'm outside and I'm getting I'm going to get a cup of tea, and I see people and I'm talking to them, and welcome to church. Hope you had a great time with us. We're just talking, and they thought I was a member there and greeter, but I thought that their leaders, I thought that some of their people were not doing what they should have been doing. Because I just thought there were some very nice people. I could see that they were looking for a church, and they staggered in. They didn't know anybody there. And to me, I have no such thing as somebody I do not know. There is no such thing in my repertoire. Okay, because I have no problem meeting people. Because I like me, I like you, I like people. I like people's quirks. Y'all forgive me. I know people have a problem. I know I got quirks. Anybody know that? And so I like other people's quirks. I have no problem with that. I love the difference in us. And so I'm greeting, and they said, "Oh, so how long you been going to church?" I said, "I don't go to church here." I said, "This is my daughter's church." They said, "Well, what are you doing?" I said, "I just was talking to you. I thought you were nice." I said it was a nice church, and I was meeting nice people, so I was talking to them. But they thought I was a greeter or an usher now. So you never know, what you're doing. So
Tri-ministerial.
Yeah. I'm multitasking, multi-ministry. So go to that site if you want to. Anybody want to say there so I can look at it and give you some things? Anybody want to say it?
Helps.
Yeah.
Mine's discernment. I'm not quite sure. I read what was said in the shape outline. I'm not sure how that is really.
Well, let me give you some things. Discernment breaks off into a number of different places. So you know what? Now you said initially discernment. So so discernment. That's prayer, staffing, staff support, visionary. Okay, but then it can go a little further. So let's go into the different dimensions of it. So you got things like apologetics. You have things like outreach, spiritual warfare. You have things like ministry needs, assessments, type of things. It also grants us a little bit of the nuts and bolts of ministry. It looks at things like who serves. You might be asked to be on a nominating committees for who's going to serve in certain roles in the church, leadership roles. Let me go back and just give you a number of different things. So, and also, and not even that in life. It deals with prayer. It might be intercessory prayer. It might be prayer manual ministry. It might be prayer journaling ministry. It might be, it could be something. I'm trying to give you a bunch of different things, so forgive me. I'm not. It could be consultation, evaluation, research. I'm going to give you some more as I run through this line. Couple more ones. Staffing, okay. Interviewing, assessment needs, recruiting, church recruiting for church, recruiting on leadership boards, visionary, and that is church planter, elderly ministry, helping to coordinate with overseers, special projects, strategic planning. So there's a lot of things that it could embrace. Okay?
Eric said help. Can you give us some examples about that? That is what you said, right?
Yes.
You said help?
Yeah.
Did you just help him out?
I did. I gave the assist.
So helps, first of all, helps can be clerical, they can be communication, they can be service oriented, they can be staff support. So what I'll do is I'll look at the clerical. Clerical help could be places like church directory, computering, record keeping, letter writing, nuts and bolts of manual development, software programming, financial management resources, it could branch off into there. Let me go to the next one. It could be communication, which can deal with audio, video, drama, illustration, letter writing, music, photography, publicity, sound systems, things of that nature. Could also deal with Christian writing and other types of serving of helps and ministering to people. Another place could be service-oriented, which deals with social planning, transportation, deacon, cleaning, decorating, landscaping, transportation, ushers, greetings, all of those type of things. Okay, which I just described Eric pretty much.
Pretty much.
Okay, so, but yeah, so take a moment to look at that sheet. It'll give you, it'll say something like wherever your gift, your mind line gifts are. Then it will have a couple things under it. Hit the click on it and then look at the definition. It gives you some well-roundedness. And you can also see how those apply in the workplace, like project management and stuff like that. Because everything is not in the building.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
It's in the body.
Right.
But it's all not in the building.
Correct.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay? So, and would you like to go on? Or is there any more questions before I go? So we're going to get ready to get into, let's turn to the next portion. We're going to get into the heart. Now, we are all uniquely wired. Am I right?
Yes.
And that's about, and also I got this nice little book too. Ladies, y'all remember y'all used this book? And y'all know I got all this stuff in my, there's another nice book on using your spiritual gifts. It's called Equipped to Serve and Engage. I'll pass it around. If anybody wants one, I have a couple of them. I will lend it. No, I won't lend it because y'all won't give it back because I know. I you got that look on your face. I can tell.
You be writing all in the books.
I didn't write in that one, but I know how you are with that. I saw you had that look when I gave it to you. Your eyes just lit up. Mine. You know, it was like so. But we're all uniquely wired, and it's critical to fulfill our mission by serving with our gifts. So you know, I think it's important. You know, as I said, also, you know, sometimes the church has to be willing to engage in new ministries to help people engage in their gifts. Because everything that we are gifted for is ultimately for the benefit of the body of Christ. Everything. Now, your life is like a puzzle. Anybody got puzzles? That's what I'm doing with my mother-in-law, me and her build puzzles, you know, in the evening. Right now we're doing 500-word puzzles, I guess 1,000-word puzzles. But, you know, I like it because, you know what, you can be done, but all of us kind of are like, if we would put the puzzle of us up, then we would see that there's pieces that go to make us how we're wired. And the pieces fit together to make you whole. When you combine your spiritual gift with your heart, which is your passion, and write that down because, you know, when I say heart is passion, and your abilities, your personality, and experience, you will discover a picture that shows how you can best serve the Lord with your maximum effectiveness. Now, to find your best fit in ministry, you begin by discovering what your gifts are, and that's what we started with. We started with the gifts. But now, you got to move beyond that into your passion so you can understand how the rest of this starts to work. Now, hopefully what you are doing is you're continuing to pray, okay? And asking God by the Holy Spirit to direct you in your pursuit of what you're searching out, okay? Because it's the Holy Spirit who gives the gifts and also gives us direction. So tonight we're going to focus on the heart. Now, knowing your ministry passion will release a greater motivation and enthusiasm in your life and ministry. So one of the keys to serving is your purpose is how am I created? What turns me on? Now, if you open up the manual, it says, wait, there's no right or wrong passion, right? Well, you know, technically, okay? Only, you know, spiritually. God gave us each a passion in order to move us in specific ways to address the various concerns of our heart, which is his heart, because we want a heart after him, am I right? And he wants to give us our heart's desires, but we want our heart's desires to be after his heart, okay? Now, when we're pursuing our passion or our concerns that he has placed in our heart, we are very focused and highly motivated. We are not denying the significance of others' passions by devoting our best energy to the issues God has placed upon our heart. Because passion answers the where question. Where do I go with what I know about me? Okay? So the more accurate description of passion of your heart, or it would be your passion, or this part of your spiritual DNA that makes you up. Open up Romans, write this down. It's not in here, so we're using both of these things because I wanted to make sure that I don't just run through it and make this an assessment thing. Open up Romans 12:11. I'm going to read it out of my New Living Translation. But you'll see it says, Romans 12:11, it says, keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. Does yours say that? Or something along those lines? Romans 12:11. Because Romans 12, as it starts talking about the gifts and how they work in there and how we've each been given one, after it says, first of all, it says, my brother, it says, present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God. But then it goes down there, and 12:11 says, keep your spiritual fervor, serving the Lord. Now, fervor, it means enthusiastic devotion, and it's an intense interest in the cause or activity that is deeper than a mere feeling or emotion. So the term originally in Greek, it applies to oils that are heated and bubbled and boiled. So in other words, our passion is our interest, is an interest that is so powerful that it boils and bubbles inside of us. Okay? So God's desire for us is to find such a cause and invest in them with intensities. So it's important for us to figure out what our passions are. So passion answers the where question. Have you ever asked yourself, where should I serve? Everybody say,
Yes.
everybody say,
Yes.
now, when people are serving in areas where they do not express their greatest emotional energies, they eventually loosen their motivation to serve. Their enthusiasm for ministry melts, and it does not take long before the heart of those around them begin to melt too. So understanding your passion breathes purpose and power into your life and into the lives of those around you. It's important to try to figure out your passion is, because if you don't know what your passion is, what your passions are, then you can ask yourself some questions. And I know we're going to get to them down here, but you can ask this: what makes you excited about waking up in the morning besides life? Where does your mind often drift when you're thinking about things? That tells you what your passion is. I tell you, my passion for ministry and my passion for sport. I remember when I was so young, man, all I did was I dreamed about baseball and basketball. Just dream. I mean, even today, now that I'm older, I periodically have nights I can't play. I'm playing anymore, but I still dream about playing basketball. I just love that. But I also dream about ministry. I used to dream I was preaching. I would dream I was at prison ministry doing certain things. I mean, there were things that I would sit around and I would be talking to somebody, and all of a sudden my mind's somewhere else doing those things. So where do you often find your mind drifting? Is there an area in your life that makes your heart skip a beat when you think about it or work within it? More than likely, there's a common thread woven in these responses. So going back to the sheet, it says this passion assessment has been designed to assist you in getting clearer understanding of where your passions may be. Most of us have a number of concerns and yet value them differently. For our purposes here, seek to list those issues and concerns which weigh the heaviest upon your heart in order to identify your greatest area of passion. Your heart or your passion are the things you love to do. You have a God-given passion or deep desire to do certain things, and conversely, there are also certain things that you hate to do. Okay? Don't do what you hate. All right? Your heart and your passion are the things you love to do. Answer the following questions will help you identify your heart's desire, things you should pursue, and also things you dislike and avoid. If time and money were no obstacle, did you start doing this? Did y'all write these out? Okay, you write these out? Anybody hasn't done this in here? Okay. So if time and obstacles and money were not so much that you had to help? Is there a reoccurring theme in the moments your heart was stirred or angered by difficult situations you see in the community or world? And lastly on the page, what things have you done in the past that really excite you? So were you able to narrow some things by that? Does anybody want to share? Because you're more than welcome. Be my guest, Beth. Beth would like to share, and but also, where's my book at? Because I don't want to see Beth.
It's right here, right now.
Okay,
Oh,
that's
here you
good.
go.
I'm watching Beth. I'm just
Well, it's
teasing.
like a teacher does.
I know, okay. I'm just teasing. I'll share that with somebody.
I want to be a speaker about being a survivor of a mental breakdown and or mental illness.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
They called it a massive depressive episode, and I spent 4 months at Western Psych.
Okay.
And I survived it, and the number one thing when that happens is you lose all hope.
Right.
But then, when you get healthy, hope comes back. And I think people make their most desperate choices when they lose hope, because there's literally nowhere to go from there. 'Cause
Right.
you know, I think it is such a huge thing, because like when we would all sit around in group, that was the thing, like I'll never find joy again, I'll never laugh, I don't have anything to hope for, like you don't see a future.
Right.
And I think hope and the future are tied into that.
So you see that as one of your passions, and you should have been with me not yesterday, because Robert Morris, we were with the young people, and that's what we were dealing with, because we were dealing with avoiding suicide and those type of things. So we were sitting and talking about this, because you talk about those things, you don't avoid those things.
Yeah.
You know, but so that's something that you feel strongly about. That's one of your areas. And so there's various places, and especially in the body of Christ. Remember Tanya last of the classes that we were having for the youth, that we were dealing with a lot of those type of issues, and we had teachers that were coming in because we didn't have teachers that were within that wanted to share those things. So that's great. So you've kind of identified a passion zone. That's something that you'd like to identify in the church.
And I have a teaching background, and with being a chef and in the hospitality industry, I'm comfortable with being in front of people because you basically did that every day.
Right.
Someone came into your restaurant, you have to talk, you know, so all those things, and the fact that I think it's not talked about enough, and I think it needs to be talked about more,
Right.
because I think it happens at all stages of people's life. You know, and my nephew killed himself.
And the one thing that benefits you too is you understand the place where faith has.
Right.
Because faith has the powerful connection that brings us beyond that, because Jesus said, I have come to set those captives free.
Amen.
And those type of things, and to give deliverance in those areas. So not only do we deal with them but deliverance to me is also something that is ongoing, because you fight every day to maintain your deliverance.
Again, I fight every day, because when you have an episode like that, when you get that desperate to be hospitalized or what have you, you get a weird thing. And I became paranoid, and I was afraid of people, and I would check my alarm system, like I was always afraid of people. So actually leaving the house to go to Western Site every week, you know, 3 times a week was super challenging. Then I had to be on the bus because I didn't trust myself to drive. But ironically, the same week I went to Western Site was the same week I found Northway.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah, because the Lord, because that spiritual connection is
Right.
the lifting rod. I mean, and that's one of the things that I work with people a lot, and they share them with me. They send them to me because they want that spiritual component, because they understand that I need God to get beyond this, because it's part of my holistic person, and not just dealing with a psychological aspect of life.
and even though Western Site is a UPMC facility, it's not supposed to speak faith, because that kind of goes against, but they do in every.
You're on video. You don't want to tell. No, just,
Yeah.
no.
Like even all the
Counselors, yeah, they
you
understand.
really need to have some kind of faith to get you through this, because this is your darkest day.
Right, and what gives you, what did Jesus say? Jesus, I came to give hope. I mean, and that's usually the missing commodity.
Yeah.
I mean, and only God can give that commodity, you know, along with our understanding of who God is. So, you know, we're getting into this too much, but that's one of the areas that you see. So when we got down to the areas that it says what cause or issues, so you saw that as an issue, what people would you like to help most? And I think that those are, that's on the next sheet, y'all. Y'all turn to the next sheet. And it talks about the things that have excelled in your past. What kind of things do you like doing? It says, what causes your heart to race So, crisis counseling. That's what to some extent, you're saying. You're saying,
Crisis counseling, service.
community issues, service issues. Somebody stop me? Somebody say something?
Yeah, Richie.
Okay. Those would be also something that probably touches women's ministry, adult ministry, so forth and so on. So those are things that. What kind of people would you like to help most? What the people I would like to help most are.
I think teenage girls.
Okay, so teenage. So you talk about teenage.
High school students, maybe.
Right. No, but this is just a list. We narrow it down. Teenage girls, then that might be where it is. Teenage girls, young people, single people. Single young ladies, single parents. So you know what? It helps you narrow it down because you're seeing where your heart is. And so let's go to a couple others. Does anybody else want to share where they think might want to, where they kind of feel like drawn out besides Tanya? Tanya's looking at me funny, that's why I said Tanya, because she tried to look, When people give you that funny look, that means I don't want to say this, so. Anybody else? So have you identified where your heart is? Wait, well, let me ask you this. And going through this sheet, have you identified, because Beth has identified some things. Have you identified some things? Okay, thank you. You said I'm not kind of clear.
I'm very, I have no idea.
Okay, that's good. Because we'll talk about that. Because I want to know who is and who isn't.
My last unit in the Army, I was a military trainer.
Okay.
And I found that I pursued being a military instructor to get over my fear of being in front of people and orating.
Okay.
It was an ability I admired when I was since my youth, because I was always a shy kid. So I developed that years down the road in my career, and I like training. I like sharing abilities and skills to others.
So probably like leading small groups and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. No, because that's where, what you're talking about, these are small group participations in leadership too. Those are, see, because one of the things that we do is we kind of, the church, the way the church was formulated originally is got totally away from, as we started going on in church. So now you can only do this, that, or the other. What I love about church now is we're beginning to understand that it's not just so that one person can have their gift and everybody can follow the leader. It's so that everybody's doing proper leadership. Via, you wanted to ask a question, because I think you should ask the questions that are on your mind.
Yes, I can ask a question. So, I love the garden.
Okay.
And that's the only thing that I can think of where time escapes me.
Okay.
And I have to do it a couple times a week in order to balance myself.
Okay.
And it is not any work, and the weeds cannot come fast enough. I love doing it, and I've actually called friends and asked them if I can work in their garden. Because my garden doesn't have enough work.
Okay.
That sounds like a community garden to me.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that.
Well, hearing her say this, one of the things that Tanya, did we talk about this?
I think so.
We were talking about developing our youth, because over here we wanted to develop a garden. We wanted to garden this year, and we wanted to take this whole section out and have the youth learn how to plant and garden. That's something that we used to do. We just think it's so healthy, and also you find out, you learn how agriculture, how the ecosystem works, and those type of things. So you get to see how something starts and how something ends. So you saying that, to me, that has a place in ministry. That has a place. There's so much that you're teaching. What did Jesus use? Jesus in the Bible used the agrarian culture to teach a sower went forth to sow. And so they could understand how salvation and how we're supposed to grow as believers. So, so how does that work? So that's one of your passion areas. In that, what is your gift area?
My gift was discernment and faith.
Discernment and faith. Okay, so let's see how those. So come on, y'all, help me, because one of the things that you're supposed to do within helping to understand your gift is you should get some people who are 2 or 3 people spiritually mature around you as you start to help you get your shape that can confirm what you're discovering about yourself. If your friends won't be honest with you, see, some of us don't have good friends because some friends won't be honest with you. There's some friends that, like, if you wrote down that you're creative and you decide that you want to sing and you sound like this all the time while you're singing, and they say, oh, that's nice. Those are what we like to watch when we watch American Idol on the first couple of days. We like to watch you come on. Because because your friends haven't been honest with you. So you need people who are honest with you, who can confirm your gift. Yeah, you know what? I really see that in you. I see, or it can say, hey, you know what? I'm going to pray in that area because I'm not seeing that. So you know what? Doesn't mean I'm not, but I think maybe you should really maybe ask God again to kind of find out where that is taking you. You need friends like that can tell you those type of things. Because most of the time, we call speaking the truth in love, we think it's only, we live in a society where everybody is always right or everybody is always, everybody's okay. And I think there's a difference between tolerance and truth. We live in a society with too much tolerance and not enough truth. So one second, so via, keep that in mind as we branch out some of these things, because that might be a growth area. That is something, maybe also your discipleship, because discipleship is about planting and growing and developing people. So it's not maybe just the soil or the weeding out of the weeds of our lives, of our soil, but weeding out the weeds of life. So maybe discipleship is part of what you're teaching or training or discerning, and all of those things come together. Hope that makes sense. Okay. Tanya? And also, y'all jump in here too, because y'all know better, and y'all are sitting there acting, especially Dory. I'm just messing with you, Dory. Okay. Tanya?
So I just wanted to give an example. It took me a while to get this, but I had non-believers and believers start piecing this together for me. But I get excited. So one of my gifts is exhortation. I get excited when I go into schools. I get excited when I go into hardware stores and auto shop stores. Like I just, there's just something that just, I'm just
Wait,
like,
did you say auto stores?
auto store. I get
That's what I thought you
excited and
said.
I start thinking, oh, I can build a car, I could do this, I can build a house. And in schools, I'm just like, oh my gosh, look at all these mines. And I just get really, really excited. And I really didn't know where that was coming from. And then as I learned more and more about the gift or exhortation, I heard Charles Stanley talk on this one day. He did a sermon one time on the gifts, and he brought up this gift. And he talked about you walking with people for long periods of time and encouraging them and really, and which part of that shepherding, that's in my gifts too, but the exhorter always comes up. It's always my number one. So just kind of walking with people for long periods of time and encouraging people. And I found over the years, and then I had my brother, now this was through my failed relationships, but my brother who, he's non-believer, he's out there.
No, he's either a non-believer or a believer. You can't, you're either pregnant or not pregnant.
He's out there. He says he believes, but it's questionable at times. But so he just gave me this analogy one day. He was like, and he was talking about my relationships, but he was like, you like these project cars. You like to fix things. But every time you fix one thing, something else breaks, and you fix this, and something else breaks. And so he was relating it to relationship, but there was just something in me that went off, and I was like, that's my exhortation gift. Where I like to fix fix people is kind of what it is, but I can't fix people. So I had to start praying and asking God, okay, show me how to walk with people, but not to a place where it's gonna hurt me
Or hurt them.
or hurt them,
Right.
you know, but also just learning how to use the gift. How do I use this gift properly?
And use that gift within the shaping of places, because
Right.
you know what, as Eric said, I like what Eric said, you don't want to retard them sometime in walking with them. But also, you know, you were saying, you said cars and stuff like that, because I know for people, I laugh at this, but some of those ministries where they bring all the cars in and stuff like that, well, you know, that's a great opportunity because people use those as evangelism moments.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're constantly using their gifts of exhortation to walk, and they're talking about vehicles and things that people love, but they're also transferring that over to now a relationship with Jesus Christ. And they use that for evangelism. Some people use that for discipleship, and so forth and so on. So you can use those things. I think within the same framework is within not fixing people, but as helping people become whole.
Yes.
I think is a better way of explaining it.
Right.
And so, but remembering your first name,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That your name is Tanya,
Mm-hmm.
and that your name is not the Almighty.
Right.
You know, so that you're only, like I always tell people, my name is Craig, not Christ. I'm not responsible for saving you. But I am responsible for sharing and building those things around you that help do that. So I think that that's great, you know, and where that belongs, okay, so your gift of exhortation along with those other things. So you like working with the youth now, but where are some other plugins what else makes your heart race, you know, within this framework of this? Because that's, I think, one of the things I want to do tonight, I'm not going to let anybody escape, is try to get some pinpointing a little bit. Even if it's pinpoint, now you're down from 20 things to 19. But I want to get you to start narrowing some things down and some areas that you will try and fail. Because you know what? One of the things that we have to do is that we have to try out different ministries. We might have to start something new as we think out of the box. You might have to leave your comfort zone, and you got to be ready for a change and not allow yourself to be held back by fear. And those are very important things. I tease my daughter. My daughter is a scientist. So everything with Jillian is hypothesis and theory and so forth and so on. And I have to remind her, that's not how life works, darling. Okay? You know, every now and then, there's not going to be a null hypothesis that's going to not prove this, and you got to go this way. No, you're going to have to sometimes just trust God and step and try this.
Amen.
And she's doing that. And so I said, you know, to me, that's because she's come out of her comfort zone, because Christ is more in your comfort zone, and now you really are in your comfort zone, because when you're in the place with Christ, you're in your comfort zone. So anybody else want to share? Brother Rich.
I would like just to say that when in the 80s, how much has changed for me. And when I go to this, my experiences come back to me. Say, well, I can't do that no more. But I feel like it.
Well, okay.
Just like Boy Scouts. I would love to be a scout leader and teach boys what I learned. Different things in life. Merit badges and different levels of scouting.
Alan Parks would love you. He's the scoutmaster here.
And how to cook out in the wilderness. And I get thinking, a whole bunch of things. Well, how do you do it back then? You know, in the wilderness. And God made a way for them. But it's just, I remember it myself. All the scout laws all the scout oath, the mottos, and salute and everything. But I need somebody around you to teach it to.
But still, one of the things that we recognize is that there's still love. So maybe there's an aspect of being able to share with youth, or to, one thing, our prayer ministry, where we're not allowed to move, where we can't move as much anymore, is that we can cover those people in prayer, and we can help those that are developing. I mean, sometimes maybe not, we don't get to directly engage the youth like we wanted to, but we engage the people, those older ones around them. Because I love what it says in John. John refers to if you look at 1 John, it says to the young, to the middle, and then to the elderly. It constantly goes in that revolving. If you see him, especially in the 2nd chapter of 1 John, because it's letting us know that we're in different stages of our life. And at different stages of our life, when we were younger, we run. When we're middle-aged, we walk. As we get older, we gallop. Okay? And those are the things that are still, but there's always the usefulness of those things, because now our experience has taken us into deeper realms now. So now I have some information. And one thing I always did, and I don't know if y'all do this, one thing I always do, and I still do this, I always like to get with older people.
Amen.
Because a lot of times I was able to glean from you and glean from them things. Like, I started in ministry, I was only 25 years old. So I'm a pastor at 26 years old. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of information I don't have. So I read books and I counsel with people, because they say when you read a book, somebody invests 2 years of their life in a book. And so I was getting 2 years of people's lives every time I read a book. And then I would get with the elders, and I would get with older people to hear their experiences, so I would have some pieces of information to be able to use within my ministry so I could grow. And I was maturing beyond my years through their books and through their experiences. And I think that sometimes we don't realize how important that is. That's why Titus says, older women teach these things to younger women. Older men teach these things to younger men. How to love their house, how to be diligent, how to be steadfast. So those are things. So I believe, Brother Rich, those are still things that, you as a deacon that did in that stage, that now you have to figure out, how do I now take this to the stage that I'm at in life now, as Eric talked about earlier. Anybody else? Who else got their hand up? I know Sandy did.
I already know mine, so.
Okay.
Helping and serving.
So you're helping and serving and doing those things. So, Kelly, do you want to share anything?
I think I know where my
Because Kelly, remember, you're in a different class now. You're allowed to talk about
I
this thing.
know.
Me and Kelly had a joke last week.
It's a little crazy that I can talk at church, but I believe I know where my spiritual gifts, and I think they've changed over the years. I'm sure where God's needed me, and sometimes you don't even know that you're there and those are your gifts till you get there sometimes. But as I'm looking at the issues, those are real easy for me to figure out what I want to be. But who to is where I kind of like kids. I love old people. Teenagers are all right. You know what I mean? I like everybody. Like, I don't see anything where to hone my skills at, but I have a good, strong faith that doors will open for me, and I'll be led.
Okay.
Is that fair enough?
Well, that's but one thing, you notice I'm not going to let you off the hook with that, Okay. Because that's like the person always says, well, the Lord will show me, if this door opens, well, you know what, the enemy might kick the door open so that you can walk, and you have to be able to discern and know what God is doing. So, you know what, God kind of shows us, like, I'll never get somebody, like, I don't like working with babies, okay? I love children. I love playing with them. I love enjoying, but, babies, now I like the toddlers and the infants as they get older, but babies, oh man, that's a lot of work, okay? And I don't do changing diapers and slop, the gerbil and the drool all over me, stuff like that. Don't get me wrong. And I know it's fresh and it's pure, but no, up and up because, you know, they would say, no, that's a baby spit up. It's so fresh and good. But no, that's baby spit up still too, you know. So, you know, but, and there's some groups I don't do good with, you know. Like, you know, I would say on here, you know, if you look at, I mean, because we don't want to be honest. I mean, but there's some people, some things I prefer more. I'll just say that. I love being with men's ministry. I love hanging with the guys. There's something about the honesty. I don't have to watch my wording that much. You know, you're kind of straightforward with the guys. I love that. I love couples ministry. I love dealing with the couples. But I also love the youth and the singles. You know, so that, college students, I enjoy, I mean, that invigorates me so good. I'm over Robert Morris, man. I'm just, with those college students, you know, I don't feel my age, and I feel like I'm really contributing to developing something in the next generation.
So can I give you an example of what I mean by opening doors? And maybe you touched on this and I just didn't hear it.
Okay.
But here's a good example. So I don't even remember what it is. It's on the north side. There's this homeless shelter, the Light of Life. The Light of Life. I write them a letter. I call. I was praying about it for a long time. I wanted to go and volunteer. Just one night a week, one weekend, didn't make a difference. Just be faithful and go. They didn't want me.
Right.
And okay, but you know, but I prayed a lot about it, so I felt that God was like, "That's not where you're supposed to be."
No, you know
for whatever reason.
But let me tell you why. Tell her, Tanya.
Tell me why, because
Because Tanya's the, you know, we do that with the students over Robert Morris, but you can't get in all the time because so many people are volunteering. They weren't turning you away because so we had to find other people with Jubilee Kitchen, and we found Lydia's house and places like that. So what you're saying is great because maybe you're that piece of and maybe now that you've moved into here, that's your portion of ministry, because one of the things we need to do is set up days that we can go, and you have to plan out with that. They don't let you just, especially if you want to go around Christmas time, you might as well just hang it out. Everybody there at Christmas, you know. But there's times that you can go, and maybe that's something that you can help administrate, because we want to get our youth doing this. We want our youth to do it so they can appreciate, but some of us love doing it. I love going down there, you know.
we're like one bad decision away from being there.
Right,
I hate to say that.
As a kid, we were kind of there. Okay, so there was no question. Okay, so I mean, I grew up on the north side. Okay, so you know, but it's a great ministry, but and also it might not be something everybody wants to do. Like Lick and them do prison ministry. Everybody don't want to go to prison, especially when they were there last week. Last week they had all the young bucks. That wasn't you. That was just, they had. They had the 18. They had the 18-year-olds. I mean, the ones fresh. I mean, criminal. I mean, have no heart. You look into their eyes. There is nothing there. Okay, there is death in their eyes. I mean, some people don't want to do that. That's not their ministry, and that's okay, because somebody else has to do this. Dory and them do couples ministry. They do all the couples, and they got to listen to all these things and they got to keep confidentiality, and then they got to deal with the different nuances that are going on and the different dynamics that are constantly being faced. And somebody else might say, that is just good for them. I'm tithing. I hope my money goes toward helping that ministry, but I don't want to be over there. Okay, and it's all right. That's why I think it's so important that we appreciate our pieces, find out who we are, and enjoy it. So you're saying that? No, I think maybe that was why the door wasn't, because you just needed another avenue to get the door open, not realizing that they weren't rejecting you. They're just so packed with people who volunteer there that they.
Now you're making me feel better. I appreciate it.
No, I'm being very honest with you, because we wanted to go for Christmas. Rhonda and them. I mean, you got agencies. You got. Rhonda and them was telling me, Highmark. All of their employees volunteer during Christmas. So, you know, you got times nobody can get in there, and that's really wonderful, because me and Tunch Elkin are good friends, and Tunch does a lot for them over there. So, you know, but sometimes you just can't get in there, you know. Who's at your hand now? Lick.
Well, I was just thinking about Kelly, and it could have been a situation where it wasn't a good time for her to be there too, just based on what who was in there at the time.
I think it was, honestly, I think it was so it could make the flame fan deeper.
Yeah.
Because when you can't fulfill what you want to do, it burns. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, and see, because she hasn't forgotten about it. Or she wouldn't have brought it up
10
today.
years ago, yeah.
And she may need somebody that can help open that door for her.
Well, I think the door can open. Like I said, she thought that they were rejecting her because they said you can't come once a week. What they were saying is, our plans are filled up, so let's schedule you out. But somebody might not have been able, they might have had somebody there who was not gifted. Their gift was not to be a receptionist or somebody like that, and they didn't explain that right.
True.
You know, because I know we go, that's what the students found over Robert Morris at first, and then we went through, I think the Newman Club was already in, so we tapped onto them and were able to get through and get in through that. Should I move over here, Eric? I'm sorry. Okay, Eric's telling me I should move. So where we're at now, and looking at Castle, did anybody else want to share? Dory, did you want to tonight? Okay.
I took this years ago, and I know one of my gifts was teaching, and that's where I am, teaching in marriage ministry and exaltation.
So yeah, and what we're doing is we're doing with the heart, and so so now your heart is in marriage ministry. I mean, that's what you like, that's what you love, you know, that aspect of ministry. You know, so I think we begin to narrow some things down. Everybody, Sandy and Mrs. Poirier and y'all went up like popcorn just now, so go ahead.
With the people that I like to help, I don't know if it's because I did that and I liked it, like the elderly and disabled. I mean, I did that as a living. I enjoyed it.
Right.
But I don't know if those are the people that I still...
Do you still enjoy being around those people? And so, yes, you do. That's how your heart was. I remember me and you talking, and I told you, I said, you know, I think one of the things that diminishes us at times is when we can't be a part of what we love, because it's just like the crank in your system has stopped cranking.
Because I wasn't sure if it was the people or I like helping everywhere in the background.
Right. So,
He said, I got
right.
it.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's all right.
And I don't know if that's what people,
No.
or if it's still the elderly or the disabled, or I just like to I help any way I can, but I don't know which people.
Right. So I think you already said it. I think the elderly and and people that may have special needs or disabled. I think your patience level and your love and your demeanor for that is really
I mean,
great.
that's what I did for a living.
And I think you should. But I think you should also continue to engage yourself in those areas. And sometimes, like you said, I like helping in the background. Well, sometimes in the background is through providing the opportunity where they can serve for their events, or setting up things for them, or helping the planning, and sometimes, well, I think really what turns you on though too is being engaged in them, even though sometimes you don't want to be engaged with them. I think it helps you because I think from what you're saying, I'm just watching what you're saying. Because you started talking about them and you started smiling and you started getting all chippy. Y'all didn't notice it. She started talking about it. She started getting all chippy and I think still interacting, because there's something about the interaction with them that blesses you and blesses them and blesses you to bless them. And that's what the body needs. It needs those people interacting and intermingling with one another. So I think that's a good place. Sister Purrier?
I really enjoy the women's ministry. I enjoy coming to the marriage ministry as well, but I really enjoy being with the elderly at the women's ministry.
There you go.
And I just enjoy sharing and hearing what they have to say.
And then also, you're one of the teachers. You're teaching in that now too. You matriculated into that place, and it's amazing how God fills the zone. And also, how do you leave there? Because I know on Sundays, because Sunday's the day that I can really kind of flow and do all the things that I don't get tired until I sit down. Once I shut it all down, you might find me where I sat down. I might have sat down at the kitchen table and I decided to and I'm there like this, and I'm asleep, But as long as I'm going and I can do it, going to the hospital and doing all those things, that part of shepherding is just like, I don't get tired. I don't feel like I'm dreary. And sometimes I forget to eat because I haven't eaten all day because I fasted when I was preaching. So I haven't eaten, but I don't feel like I'm famished or anything like that. It's just like, you know. So I think you should write that down and pen that and figure how I can develop that. Okay, so that's where your part comes. Now, Via, I see your thoughts. I see Via thinking again because I can tell what Via's thinking. So what's going on now as we kind of put some of those pieces together?
And it's so helpful because the thing that really struck me as you were talking was putting seeds in people's heads and into their lives. And I love doing that. Just little information, little quote. It's rewarding. And I enjoy it immensely.
And I think it's good to find out how do you develop or how do you partake in a ministry that already does that, or how do you develop that in the ministry or the place where God has you?
Well, for me, where I notice it a lot is, and it wasn't really conscious until you just, like, I noticed it was there, but I didn't know how to word it until you just said that. But where God has me professionally, it's nobody likes to come. Most people don't like to come to the dentist.
I did. I went today, and I knew I was just getting my teeth cleaned and everything was fine. Okay.
People have a high anxiety level.
Right.
And in order to calm them down, sometimes people open up about their life struggles.
Yes, they do.
They don't have anybody to talk to, or they just sense that you would listen. And you hear some amazing stories, crazy stories sometimes, and people need encouragement all day long, and so it's really a nice place. And also you have staff that watches all that. There's a lot of seed planting going on.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of seed planting because you're like, okay. Because if you're anything like my dentist and I are great friends, so he's having a conversation, and I said, Mike, man, wait, when you take it out, I can talk to you, okay? And he's asking me questions, and I'm like, it's amazing. Y'all must have a different language that you understand, because you can understand what we're saying.
Even though you're not talking.
Yeah, and we're saying it like, but that is great. But I mean, so those are things to develop, and but sometimes we don't see what God is doing because that's part of our shape, and we're looking at things sometimes in only one dimension of how it might apply only in this way. God knows how we're wired. Okay, so look at that. Anything else? I think one person, Cass, you had your hand up.
Yes.
You thought I forgot about you, Cass. I saw you.
Well, I was just going to mention, I have 11 things mentioned that make my heart race.
You had 11?
Yeah, I have 11.
You want to share?
I'm one. I'm the first one.
You are the first one on there. Okay. It wasn't on there, but I saw on the top she put big legs.
Make my heart race. Just things that I feel compassionate about now. And I think some of it's because I'm older now. And I've seen a lot, done a lot, heard a lot, been involved with a lot of people in a lot of different situations. They are abuse, addiction recovery, at-risk children, family violence. Then I have music, instrumental and vocal, teaching, senior adults, women ministries, marriage, divorce, and parenting. I have a passion and a compassion for all of that, and I realize I can't do all that at one time, but as I encounter people and God puts people in my life, I'm seeing more and more that what He has given me, I need to share it. I need to help people by reaching out to them. I'm getting bolder as far as speaking up to people in love about things that I usually wouldn't have never said anything because I'm quiet. I'm still quiet, but I just feel that I need to do something while I still can and make a difference. And that's all I was gonna say.
And what, look, and Cass, what were your first line gifts?
I just said those because they're at the top of the page here. Abuse.
No, what were your first line gifts?
Spiritual gifts.
Okay. Discernment and prophecy.
Okay. So those are speaking, and those are knowing where to speak
Yes.
and when to speak. So, that goes hand in hand with this because you know what? You've got opportunities in this area, and some things you'll serve basically in ministry, and other things you serve in opportunity.
Yes.
So that's, but knowing what makes you a lot bolder is knowing that this is where I belong. That's why I think it's a lot easier to be emboldened to do it. You're not worried about any repercussions. And also, as we get older, and per year I was sharing with you, as we get older, we're thinking more legacy.
Yes.
We're thinking more how we're going to affect the generations if Jesus doesn't come back. Because I know now, there's a book by Bob Buford talking about the second half. And, most of us are in the second half of our life right now. And what kind of legacy, and as we get deeper in the second half, as we're on the back 40, okay, we get deeper about that thought. Sister Party?
I want to say one thing about marriage ministry. I didn't understand why Dory was inviting Rich and I to come to marriage ministry. We've been married over 40 years. And so I said, well, let's just go and try it. And then once we got there, I could see why the Lord moved to ask us to come and be a part of that ministry, because there was a lot there for us to glean and to realize that we were not unique in our situations that we had to overcome in our marriage. And today, we were at the doctor's office, and the doctor was talking to us because he knew that there was a 20-year difference between, he knew Rich before he knew me, and he was asking us about it. And I said, we've had a lot of fun. I said, we've done a lot of things. I said, blending a family, I said, well, that was a little challenging with the two youngest, but not the two oldest. And he was concerned because his daughter she's mature, I think she's like 30, but she's dating someone that's 19 years older than her, and which makes him about the same age as the doctor.
Okay.
And he said, well, after talking to you two, he says, I feel so much better now.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, and those are things, now one of the things that I'm trying to really, and I turned me and Tawana are getting ready to meet with some of the, we're trying to really revamp the singles ministry. Because one of the things I think singles need a place where they can, unfortunately too oftentimes singles ministries only looked at singles ministry as if it's premarital ministry.
Right.
And that's not what it is. It's singles ministry where singles are coming to develop and enjoy life and enjoy the things that they gain and the perspective that they have. And most of your church, about 40 to 50% of your church is singles. And the church forgets that. And so what I want to do is I had to take it apart to put it back together, because you had some people who were at the top of it that were trying to revamp it to be a preparing to be married ministry, when that's not what singles ministry is all about. Singles ministry should never be about that. It should be about preparation for life. And if God prepares you for that step, then that's fine. But everybody's not called to be married in life. And that's one thing that people don't understand as well. Because we try to say, hey, well, if you're not married, no, everybody's not called to be married, and you're just as healthy and whole as anybody else. It's just where your calling is. Okay. So.
I heard something recently.
I didn't hear that. Wait, these two were told. Wait, share with everybody.
Say it. I like it.
Isn't that healthier?
And she said, if not healthier. Because I always say this, marriage is like this, marriage is like flies in the screen door. You ever see flies in the screen door? Some are trying to get in and some are trying to get out. Okay? So you never know. Okay. Leg?
No, I had recently heard, I didn't pick up all of it, but it had to do with a singles ministry. And one of the topics, I think one of the singles said, I've been single for 20 or 30 years. I forget what it was, but whatever it was, they said, And I don't have a desire to be married, but I really want to have children.
Well, you know
I really
what?
want to have children.
Well, you
And
can
that
have
caught
children.
my attention, but I just,
Well, you know, does that mean that you have to birth children or did you have to have children? Because my
Yeah, it's adoption.
person that
I
became a
guess it's
stepfather to
adoption.
me never had children, but he was more of a father and taught me more than any man that I've ever known as far as being a man.
Your
So,
stepfather, you said?
yeah, well, it was my mother's fiance. They never got married because my mother just after she was not going to get married again, she just she said I would never go through this again. But I mean, he respected her. He never stayed at the house. He had his place. They had that relationship. But he was just a great mentor for me about manhood. As far as how to respect a single woman with children, you know. I mean, it was just great. He was just, I mean, Eddie Breedlove. I mean, he's just a tremendous man. So you know, I think that's that singles need to ask yourself that because I remember Sheila Anderson. She's no longer here, and that was a quest. And so I said, why don't you adopt a child? And she did. She adopted a child.
yeah.
And
I
she's a
thought
great
that might have been
mother to that child, but she never wanted to be married. And she didn't feel like God was telling her married, but God was telling her that she had a lot of love, and that was where her ministry was. And she did I thought she did a wonderful job. And she had the kind of career that enabled her to do that as well. And God had blessed her with a finance career and the ability to do that. And then she had also a father and people in her life that be able kind of to lean into his life. You know, so it was really good.
And in foster care is another area.
Foster. My mother-in-law, you know, has been a foster parent until just now, at this late in age, and some of those kids still come back to see her and to, you know, so you know, I mean, there's places, and to me, that's not on this list, but that should be on the list because that's part of where our Christian faith has us, and then also we bring people into faith because, I mean, she introduced those children to church. They had never known anything about church. They got to know the Lord. They got baptized, all of those things. So, you know, there's so many levels, you know. So let me wrap up some of this because I want to make sure that we do this. Go to the next page. It says, heart summary. I have a growing conviction I should be involved in. Write something down now. Write it even with question marks on the side of it if you're not sure. Just write, I'm kind of feeling that I should be involved in. Write that down. Yep, I have a growing conviction. If you write something down, you already wrote it down, that's good. But write something down. Come on, start. You know, don't be like some of my old friends, my old guy friends. They can't make commitments. They have a problem with commitment. Okay, you know, God wants to know where's this relationship going. Okay. Y'all don't remember that? Come on, y'all don't know how to have fun in class. Okay. So I have a sense that God may be calling me to a ministry of. I think the area where I could make the most significant contribution is. Tonya, I see you writing that down. You know,
I wrote it down.
Okay, I'm glad because I was just going to throw this. This might hurt. Now, if you find yourself coming up with a variety of responses, then consider where there may be continuity. For example, do you see a recurring theme? Does a particular age group keep coming up? Is there a need that keeps surfacing? Are you serving in a similar role in a different situation? Do you notice any patterns? Can you prioritize your concerns? Base my answers on the above questions. I have a sense for that, okay? Now, let me just skip over real quick, and I just want to look at this real fast. I'm not going to go into it, but it's only one page. It talks about your talents and skills. And you know what? And also find places. Now, you know, like I said, you know, sometimes, you know, after you go to a different church, so you might have to talk to your pastor and ask them, is there a place for this? You know, because you have to find places. And if not, you might have to ask yourself where I can go to find a place for this. You know, I'll never forget, we had a young lady and she had a ministry and she felt that her ministry was training young girls and she taught them in etiquette and she taught them in womanhood. And she was a former first runner-up for Mrs. Pennsylvania. And so what we did in our church, and I'll never forget it, was we changed, we found scripture and we tried to build a mission statement around it and got her to do an etiquette ministry because that was where she was geared to. And to me, so the church should help those things, not because my daughter and some of the young girls still even carry that with them today. There were about 5 other people that were part of that ministry that really felt that that was a kind of a calling in their life. So, and I think she went on to do that in other places as well. So, it says, ability. Talent, skills are special abilities that acquired at birth are learned skills through educational experiences which you have developed in areas of competencies. List those talents, acquired skills, or special abilities where you have developed some confidence and competency. Include task functions as well as relational abilities and roles in which you have attained a level of proficiency. Abilities include both natural talent or aptitudes that you may have, Eric, you were talking about those ones that you talked about in leadership when you were in the military, or may have special skills and knowledge that you have learned. For example, of a natural talent is playing a piano by ear. My daughters can play music by ear. I can't even play music by reading, okay? An example of special skill is playing a piano by reading the notes. Answer the following questions will help analyze your abilities. What do you do well naturally that you have a natural aptitude for that come very easy? For example, organizing, building, creativity, relational, repairing, solving problems. Are there some areas of it? I know I'm really good at, I like solving stuff. I mean, I'm a fixer. I tell me your problem, you know, and I like to listen, and I'll listen, and I won't even talk to you. I'll just let you talk, and I can listen, and for some reason I can solve stuff, you know. I think that's why I like to build puzzles and do all kinds of stuff like that. That's, you know, highlights have always done stuff like that. So. Ronita is really great at organizing. She can organize an ant farm. I mean, she can just get every one of them to do exactly. I'm the builder. I'm very creative. Also, I know me. I'm a dreamer. I'm very creative. I need people around me who are project managers because I see things, and so I'm real creative in my thought process and my mindset. So I need people around me who can put those ideas together. They're the organizers. What things do you do well? For example, computer skills. Anybody have good computer skills? How about musical instrument? Drama. I'm talking about good drama. I ain't talking about that. Because I got relatives that are very good at drama, okay? Special events, leadership training, carpentry. I'm pretty good at wiring and stuff like that. You know, because we did Katrina and we do all those kind of things like that. Matter of fact, I took the Robert Morris students on a mission trip to repair and do stuff like that.
Love working with wood.
What is that?
Love working with wood. I just haven't got a lot of practice with different tools and things like that.
I'm building another pergola. I'm building a pergola from Ronita. She wants a pergola. I mean, I don't know about you know, I don't know, did I tell you what I did when I was sick, when I had the pneumonia? I built, for Ronnie at home, I built a, now, I'm going to tell myself I don't want this camera, okay. I went and bought a big TV for myself. So I bought a 75-inch TV, but they don't make TV entertainment systems. Yeah. So I made my own, and I built it, and I put in lights and windows and all kinds. That's what I did when I had pneumonia. Ronita designed it, because my wife was really good at designing stuff, and I went and tried to figure out how to make it. And YouTube is a wonderful thing. And so is IKEA. IKEA has pieces and parts that you can take and knit together, and I'll do all kinds of stuff. So it's fantastic. I'll show you a picture of it before I leave.
Okay.
It's fantastic. I made one over Jordan's too. I made Jordan one eventually. So, what things in the list above do you also really enjoy doing and receive a sense of fulfillment in doing? Now, you know, and Via, there you go, you're gardening and all of those things, and you know, Sister Purdy, didn't you tell me about crafts? Didn't you go do crafts? Yeah, because you think I'll be listening. I'll listen to y'all. Because, you know, I thought that was something that is really awesome. My wife started doing, not crocheting, but there's a different type of crocheting. She just likes to keep busy. She started doing stuff like that.
Cross stitch?
No, not cross stitch. It's like these balls. She made me, you ever see that scarf that I have? She made me this really nice scarf. And also, I steal her blanket that I carry all over the house. I'm blindness. I'm blindness. Yeah, I have a meeting. Okay. I admit I like stuff. Hey, I'm enjoying life. So look at all these. These are great things. You know, some skills: office support, videographer, design, decorating, vocalist, athletics, puppetry, carpentry, data entry. Right? These are things. So you know, these are your abilities, and abilities are very important. Anybody strategic planning? I do sound and wiring, craftsman. You know, I'm just skipping over a list. You know, painting, vehicle mechanic. I tell Isaac all the time. You know, Isaac is tremendous. Plumber, teaching, sign language. Does Donna Short do sign language still? Because I know she was teaching the kids sign language for years. You know, communication specialist, event planning. Kelly, one day said you're really great at event planning. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
Okay. No, honestly, because she said Kelly is the. So I'm telling everybody,
Well,
Kelly is fantastic. Because
tell
Juanita
her
said she
thank
is just
you.
amazing. So.
I'm normally very shy about stuff like that, but I've done national user conferences for like McKesson and stuff.
Okay.
Large, thousands and thousands.
That's what Ronnie said. Because I was asking her, she was talking about you one day, and she said Kelly is like, because they know each other, they work together, they just became friends. But she said Kelly is like fantastic. I said, well, I get the two of y'all together. Y'all could probably like set up. We could do a man up. We could do a Promise Keepers conference.
We could do anything that you want.
Okay.
We could do
I'll
anything that you
remember
want.
that. So this is your ability. So do me a favor. Did everybody do this already? So to me, I want you to do something for me in the next class. I want you to share where you would like to go with something. Because remember, everything's about a possible dream. I know we didn't get to your personality yet. Who in there is an introvert?
What's that?
Who's an introvert? Who's an extrovert? Who's a multivert? Because I'm gonna bring a different sheet next time. I'm gonna bring something that talks about unstructured and structured, and introvert and introvert and extrovert, so you can see your personality trait, because it's very good. I love that we understand conformity is not the same as unity, and the body's supposed to be unity, not conformity. And that means that there's so much diversity. You know, that's why I hope America gets it together, because God loves diversity. Everything in the church, he has all these different gifts, all these different nationalities, all these different cultures, and these all came from the same God, because God loves diversity.
Amen.
And America needs to understand that without all the pieces coming together, we can't be great. And the church has to understand, you know, pastors are great. That's great to have a pastor. That's good you have a choir. But unless all the pieces come together, the church can never be the greatness that it can be. So. Go ahead, Tanya. Say, what'd you say? I heard you and Dory. Dory, what y'all say back?
We talking about the introvert.
Y'all talking about the what?
Introvert.
Who's the introvert back there? I know Dory. Dory ain't no introvert. I know Dory for years.
I wonder. I don't know.
The first time I met Dory at Rodman Street Church. Dory, I won't say you're an introvert.
And I ain't shut up since.
I know this. Now, and I'm going to just say this, I respect it. Dory's female, but me and Dory became friends kind of the first time that we met. It was like, and both of us, you know, were happily married. We just became really good friends, and we've been friends. But Dory has never stopped talking to me since that day.
I don't know.
And nor have
I'll
I.
let you know.
And nor have I. Okay?
Right.
So nor have
When
I.
I grow up, I'll let you know.
Okay, that sounds good. So for next class, you know what? I would really like to do this sooner than later. Can we come back to Samuel next week and then skip a week and come back to this?
Yes.
I know we're supposed to do this on third, but let's do Samuel next week and then skip a week and come back to this, because I want us to begin to move forward in the process. Okay? So you got that calendar? That will be, today is the 20th, so on the 27th we will go to Samuel, and on, I think it's the 3rd we will come back to this. That's my sister-in-law, who's my accountant, not telling me good news. Hey Beth, can I call you back? I'm in the middle of Bible study. know,